Hello, welcome back. I have my friend Sarah McCall with us today. Now, Sarah is also known as Granny Mac, and she's the most adorable granny I think I've ever met. Do you think the person that you were back then would recognize who you are today?
Oh, she'd be so jealous of her.
Mhm.
Yes, she really would, and be really angry and really affronted even by who she
Really?
is.
Gotcha. Do you think it would be a wake up call for her or like a fear factor thing for her?
Really great question. I think both,
Yeah.
because the growth and the learning and the change and the difference and the healing that's gone on in my life. I flip, even being on this trip, it's given incredible chances and opportunities for growth. We were in the wasn't the subway exactly, but it was in the tunnels underneath Penn Station, getting to Penn Station, and it was early morning, and I'd been up for, I don't know, 42 hours straight, and I'd had maybe the odd hour nap here or the other odd nap there, of only about an hour to maybe 2 hours at a stretch, and my sweet man had slept for 8 or 9 hours um, during they call it long haul for a reason.
They do.
It really is. It does a number on you mentally, physically, and emotionally. Uh, anyway, the point of the story was that, I said, did you want to go and get some food? We were right outside a place that he could get food and fresh fruit and drink and water. And he said, no, he was fine. And it fired off inside of me. But you should know that I need food and drink and water, and I don't feel free to go and get food and drink and water, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? I mean, why wouldn't you advocate for yourself to go and have your basic needs met? And
Yes.
yet I wasn't free yet to do that. And so my sweet man and I had this conversation, and he said to me, you are free to do whatever it is that you want to do. And I said, I know that I am free in my head, but my experience hasn't caught up with that just yet. And so we had this amazing conversation where I realized that by not making a decision to advocate for myself, I was placing myself in the victim role and placing him in a role that was never meant for him. And so thank God we had that conversation, because I was able to say, actually, I really want to go and get some water. And so we went and we got some water, and he decided he wanted some fruit. And so we were both free to get our basic needs met. Um, and as a result, I now feel free to ask for my needs to be met. So if I need food, then I'm going to say, I need food. Please, can we have something to eat? Can we have afternoon tea? And I did that several times the other day. And my sweet man took up on that call, because the people we were with wanted to come back on the ferry, which would mean another 45 minutes. And I'd said quite clearly, I felt, actually, I need to eat. And so he championed that and was able to champion that, because he knew that it was a new thing for me to be able to speak up for myself. But he also knew that when I ask for something, it's taken a wee while for me to get there, and that the need is quite urgent, and that there's very little flexibility in that. And I realize now, and speaking that out loud, that puts an incredible burden on the people who are around me. And I never realized that before. And it wasn't my intention to do that. My intention was to honor the people around me as long as I possibly could, and to do the best I could and ignore my own, I felt, they didn't, I felt selfish needs, and they didn't
Mm.
see it that way, you know? And so to be able to advocate for ourselves, that's something that's happened out of this trip, and it's amazing. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to grow.
That is amazing. And that tells me a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
One, just for the audience, you came all the way from New Zealand to
Yes.
New England in the US
Yes.
to visit. And that's a huge time shift and a very long travel time.
Yep.
But what this tells me is that the person that you were, that you wrote about in the 3 a.m. book,
Mm-hmm.
was continuously trying to take care of everyone else and continuously
Yep.
wearing yourself out,
Mm.
trying to meet other people's needs and discounting your own.
Mm.
And you have grown significantly since then, and you
Oh, yeah.
actually use what you've learned, but there's still a little growth that you're recognizing that you're still undertaking.
Mm.
And you found someone who can have healthy conversations about this.
Mm.
And he's not going to allow you to build up resentment and frustration by
No.
ignoring your needs,
Yeah.
but he is going to, hold his own. I don't necessarily need anything, but you
Yep.
can have this.
Mm.
Boy, isn't life so practical and healthy when we
Yeah.
let go of some of our old ideas?
Yeah, it's really amazing. I was brought up to care for everybody else and to look after people around me and to ignore my own needs. Now, that may have been a message that I received once, maybe twice, maybe, I don't know, half a dozen times because it was inconvenient and whatever. But I took that and made that a life rule. It's not that God doesn't want us to look after our needs, and thinking that we are to come last is not always the case. And so this needs to be looked at in terms of a global picture. So yes, we need to look after other people. Yes, we need to look after those around us. Yes, we need to see and serve other people, so long as it comes out of a place of overflow. But when it comes out of the dregs of what we've got inside, that's really unhealthy, because we can't overflow and we can't allow the Holy Spirit to fill us to overflowing unless we're in a position of reception. So, unless we're in a position to receive, unless we're in a position to acknowledge our own need. And this is something I have struggled with for years. And it is probably one of the hardest lessons I've learned, and I am still in process of learning. And it is that I have needs. I am human. I am not God. And that may sound a little blasphemous, but when
It's
we
such a relief to know we are not.
yeah, yeah.
I think that as young people, when we're first developing, a lot of times our foundational truths that are actually lies are built when we're young. And what we're doing at that age, when we're immature still in our understanding, is we are responding to what people around us, how people around us respond or how they
Mm,
model life. And
mm,
we are creating rules for ourselves
mm.
because we're trying to learn to navigate.
Yep.
And so we create these rules for ourselves at first as a self-protection, right?
Mhm.
I I don't need to fight about this and throw a tantrum in the grocery store because I'll get in trouble. So if
Yeah.
I'm hungry, I can wait a little while. Things like that, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then as we get a little older, we are exploring our identity and finding, kind of forming a model identity for ourselves. And so we attach honor to these things.
Yeah,
I can sacrifice my own needs to
yeah.
wait for you. And we don't realize as adults how those immature understandings that created these rules for us are going to hamper our relationships. But now, where you are now, you can see how practical it is simply to
Mm,
say, hey, you know what? Let's stop because I want something,
yep.
right? How practical and easy is that? And the other person doesn't know why you're getting grumpier and grumpier, right? Because you're not, because you
Yeah,
stopped for a minute and took care of your need. And
yeah.
what a beautiful thing.
But look, the thing is that I keep seeing, and I've asked God, look, show me how to be a better person.
Mhm.
Show me how to better look after myself. Show me how to look after other people better. And he keeps pointing me back to Jesus, and Jesus goes off into the wilderness, and Jesus goes off up the mountain, and Jesus goes and takes care of his needs, and Jesus goes and does this, and yeah, he's out there feeding the 5,000. But then what does he do after that? He sends everybody else away.
Yep.
Like, look at the gospel, really read the gospel. He sends even the disciples away.
So you understand your own flow a little better and honor it
Oh yeah.
instead of working 70 and 80 hours a week.
Oh yeah.
You honor your own flow. I
I
love
was working 70 to 8, was legally only allowed to work 70 hours a week. I worked at a crazy pace because I thought that was what my family needed. I was trying to keep a roof over their head. I was trying to keep their bills paid. I was trying to keep a roof over my own head and food in my own body. And I was trying to honor my bosses, and I was trying to turn up, and I was trying to be a good person, and I was trying to be a good Christian, and I was trying to do this. And it was so much freaking pressure when God just wanted me to be. He wants me to be me. He wants me to be the person that He has created me to be. So the best place that I can be, the best thing that I can do is just go back and say, God, I've got no idea how to do this. And the Message Bible in Matthew, I don't remember the exact chapter and verse at the moment, but I know it's in Matthew. He says, work with me and walk with me and watch how I do it. Learn from the unforced rhythms of grace. I will not lay anything on you that is burdensome or heavy.
Matthew 11:20-30. I love the way the Message interprets that.
Now going forward, that verse is a cornerstone for me amongst many others. But when I don't know what I'm doing, when I don't know where I'm going, and I stand there and I feel completely lost, as if there's no markers or anything around, I simply go, okay, God, like, where's your hand? And I can feel His hand right there. And I'm like, I grab hold of it with both of my hands. And I'm like, okay, I got to hang on to you because I don't know what I'm doing. Help me walk with you because I really need to watch how you do it. I really need to watch how you do it. I always wanted to be an author, and I always squashed it because I always believed that my dreams and my hopes and my thoughts and my feelings were in direct competition to everybody else. I didn't recognize that I was free to be me, that those dreams and desires were put in my heart because God wanted to delight me and wanted to delight Himself in the journey that I am now experiencing as an author, not only for children and adults with ADHD and ASD, autistic spectrum disorder, and just really neat stories that are so flippin' clever. And I have to say clever because they're educational, they're inspirational, they expand your language, they expand your vocabulary, and they have open-ended questions at the end of them that anybody can take at any level. You can take them into your workplace. You can help your mate who's struggling with his mental health. You can help your girlfriend who doesn't know quite what she's doing or where she's going, and you help her unpack her brain so that she can figure out what her next life forward action step is. And because you're doing it together, it's peer reviewed, which means that you know that you can live with it.
Yes.
Whereas if we do these things in isolation, we make dumb decisions based on feelings and emotions because things become overwhelming. So if there's one thing that I can encourage you to do, and I'd love to say buy my book, but I'm not sure I can do that here.
I love it.
That I would really love to do is to equip you with those questions. So if there's any way that we can get those out to the viewers, Christy, I think that would be a really good thing to do to equip.
You bet. Well, there will be a link attached to this video, and of course in the book, in the bio, people will know how to find you.
I don't know who needs to know this, but my heart is absolutely pounding out of my chest. Don't do things on your own. God doesn't want that for you. We don't want that for you. Right. You don't have to be on your own. And sure, it feels overwhelming, and absolutely it feels like the world is crushing your head or your heart. I've been there. I've been there thinking that nobody cared. I've been there thinking that it wouldn't matter if I was wiped off the face of the earth, but that is such a lie from the enemy. Don't you dare believe it. Don't you dare believe it. And I speak life into your heart and mind and spirit and soul right now in Jesus' mighty name. And I speak healing and health and wholeness. And I speak hope into your heart. And if this girl who was so good at being invisible and hiding, who believed her life was worthless, can dare to find the courage to reach out and ask for help, then I would strongly recommend, please, please reach out and ask for help. There are an incredible amount of people in this phenomenal summit, and they're all here for you to believe that there is life beyond divorce, that there is life through divorce, that the pain may not go away, but you can move forward informed by it. And we are better people because of it.
That's right. Oh, you've been a blessing. Okay,